Ladies and gentlemen, this is our second part or second episode of the program about Trump's victories. You can watch either one first and finish both. It doesn't matter since they're two parts of a whole. Trump's motto is, "Stop dictating to United States citizens what is best for them and don't limit their choices. People will figure it out themselves. What was once called laissez-faire, in French, any choice will be their choice. That's choice. Choosing and taking responsibility for your decisions builds independence, accountability, and the ability to stand on your own." The next blow from Trump landed in an unexpected place.
Fourth, Trump is challenging major agricultural companies. This is very important for the Make America Great Again movement, right? The Bobby Kennedy movement and Make America Healthy Again are part of Trump's coalition. Tens of millions of people were very concerned about big pharma, very concerned about big agribusiness, all these corporate entities that, so to speak, are taking away their freedom, especially their freedom of choice. And they want them to be held accountable. They want them to be taken apart and held accountable. Trump instructed the Department of Justice to investigate, in particular, foreign big agribusiness meatpacking companies suspected of colluding to raise prices. The White House specifically mentioned the Big Four, including Brazil-owned JBS. And Cargill, yes, Cargill, I think. Tyson Foods and National Beef together control roughly 85% of United States beef processing. That's more than 36% adults per year. So Trump blames these mostly foreign meat processing companies, as he calls them, for artificially inflating beef prices, while cattle ranchers are unfairly getting the blame. Attorney General Pam Bondi confirmed that an antitrust investigation began immediately, and it is being conducted by the Antitrust Division of the Department of Justice in cooperation with the Department of Agriculture. Ground beef hits a record $6.32 per pound.
I don't understand Trump's policies from the point of view of populism. Of course, it's easy to explain that someone is to blame, especially if that someone is, well, let's say not one of us, a foreigner, so to speak. But antitrust laws, if there's no manipulation by foreign states, for example, China really likes to do dumping, and that's completely illegal against capitalism, against the free market, and it prevents everyone from developing. If there's no dumping, then antitrust legislation is generally unnatural, anti-market, and has never led to anything good in the past. And I am absolutely ready to defend this point of view separately, with numbers, data, and historical facts in hand. So I will reserve my judgment on this part until I understand it. Actually, all the pros and cons.
Trump took steps to significantly lower the cost of prescription drugs. And you probably saw how Trump launched a comprehensive most favored nation pricing strategy, forcing pharmaceutical companies to charge Americans no more, not even a cent more, than the lowest prices offered to other developed countries. Here,
I'm 100% for Trump, with Trump. Yes, this is an interesting situation with the medications. I've already discussed it. So a month's supply of the medications that I basically can't live normally without costs me, with American insurance, it's around $800, which is about $270 per month over 3 months. Once, when I arrived in Israel and forgot this medication, I rushed to the pharmacy and found that the exact same medication from the same company in the same packaging cost me, and that's without any insurance, $27 for a month, which is exactly 10 times less. It's like it's on purpose, $270 here, $27 there. The medication is manufactured in the United States, developed in the United States, and shipped from the United States. How is that possible? Actually, it's really easy and simple. As it turns out, we pay for the medicine and also for the hundreds of millions of dollars spent on research. Abroad, they sell it for the price of the medicine only, claiming development costs aren't included. It's just nonsense. Trump said if you can sell in Israel, though he didn't mention Israel by name. Yeah, well, if you sell to someone over there for $27, then you have to sell in the United States for the same $27 or less. You can sell for less if you want. But then they said that means the giant pharmaceutical companies will have to charge everyone for research. In Israel, they'll pay $50 or even $100 instead of 27. Honestly, in the United States, you could buy it for 100 and not 27 or 27.0, just like everywhere else. But what did Trump say? The maximum you can charge United States citizens is the minimum you charge in other developed countries. Well, we all understand that in Congo, Uganda, in Bangladesh, everything is sold almost at cost, and that's normal. And now our medicine prices are already dropping, and they'll keep going down. They might go up somewhere abroad, yes, but that would be completely fair. What we pay, they pay too. By the way, so to speak, here we don't have delivery, but they do have delivery. Sometimes at the border they charge some fees, and usually there are duties on medicines, well, if they even charge them. So for us, it should either cost the same or less, and that's how it's going to be now.
Trump recently reduced the price of Ozempic from $1,000 to $350 a month, and with Medicare it's just $245. The price of the bound also dropped from $1,000 a month to $300 a month. Medicare beneficiaries pay only $50. That's a $50 copay. Insulin products from Novo Nordisk now cost only $35 a month. And the administration has officially launched Trump RxGov, which allows you to buy medications directly at significantly reduced prices, completely bypassing insurance middlemen. You see, there's a certain pattern here, right?
Not just Ozempic and other medications, but by the way, it's also possible to buy from private companies at reduced prices through the government portal. All suppliers will strive to compete with each other for millions of customers on this portal. And prescription medications will go down in price, like a sled going down a hill. And yes, Trump always has the same idea, which I support 834,000%, to make sure that you and I have the freedom to choose. If you want, live this way. If you want, live differently. By the way, let's listen to an American legend, the famous Newt Gingrich. He was the Speaker of Congress starting from Clinton's second term, and at one time he twisted Bill into a ram's horn. And the entire economy, which is called the economy, the astonishing rise of Clinton's economy during his second term, should actually be called Gingrich's economic miracle. Well, everyone who has studied and so on knows this. He turned the country so much toward capitalism and away from the crazy ideas of Bill and Hillary. And yes, they had crazy ideas, and Hillary even started working on Hillary Kerr. Well, okay, let's listen to him then.
You know, it's not even worth talking about, but Schumer's shutdown, all of it was pointless. It was just a waste of time, caused a lot of anxiety, chaos everywhere. Steve, now that's behind us, okay? I guess my question to you is, what's next? What happens next?
The Democrats shut it down, the government, in a failed attempt to extort $1.5 trillion for their favorite projects, including, as has long been documented in black and white, full health care funding for illegal immigrants amounting to several $100 billion. As a result of their shutdown, they caused massive flight delays for Americans and huge consequences for public safety. Federal workers were left without pay, and people living paycheck to paycheck couldn't make ends meet. This was a sabotage by the Democrats against Trump's economy, which brought record prosperity to the American people. The Democrats, as the president said, President Trump, is acting like a kamikaze pilot, trying to hurt America and Americans just because they can't accept the fact how this administration has been so successful.
Well, that's interesting. The stock market has been rising during this shutdown. That's really something. And I think the stock market, as I said at the beginning, really points to an economic boom under Trump. Profits are growing nicely, that's a key point, but also the policies that are coming out. It's one big, beautiful bill. It helps. First of all, it helps profits, but it helps everything. Business, I think, is really thriving, and real wages are starting to grow again.
It's remarkable that the shutdown didn't affect the stock markets. Smart investors knew that the investments Trump brought from all over the world didn't go anywhere, and the economy is soaring.
We are relentlessly focused on affordability, so President Trump is working to further lower the cost of living. So, Thanksgiving holiday dinners will be 25% cheaper. But President Trump wants more. He's working to reduce the cost of all consumer and household goods, with the tax bill playing a key role. Because when we make life more affordable for our companies, for domestic industry, for domestic manufacturing, with full depreciation, with the largest tax cuts in history, then prices will continue to go down. This also applies to energy affordability. No president has done more. Larry, you know this. To make energy more affordable, President Trump is actively working on the issue of energy affordability. We are building new pipelines for the first time in the northeastern part of this country. You saw that we have a major pipeline running through the Nessie pipeline. There will be more. And the president is also making nuclear energy modern, safe, reliable, and clean nuclear energy to power the future. He issued 4 historic nuclear energy executive orders. America will lead the nuclear energy renaissance here. One more thing, Larry. Under President Trump, America is the world's artificial intelligence capital. This attracts trillions in investments. It creates millions of jobs. It raises our standard of living. We're on the verge of one of this country's greatest economic periods. Larry, with record revenues coming in through tariffs as corporate taxes are lowered, business taxes are lowered, and personal income taxes are lowered, we can now generate more revenue from foreign imports to replenish the treasury and provide relief to the American people. Part of the economic plan, America First, is to make America the cheapest, simplest, most efficient, and most effective place to do business. With the least intrusive regulations, the most affordable energy, the simplest permitting process, and the greatest focus on innovation. And to collect revenues from foreign countries that import their goods into our country, which will ensure the security of our supply chains. This is Trump's plan. This is Trump's American Industrial Revolution. Under his tariff and trade strategy, we have trade agreements with the $8 trillion and $600 billion in investments, respectively. We have a trade agreement with Korea. They are bringing in $350 billion in investments, including revitalizing the American shipping industry. President Trump isn't just addressing today's economic issues, as you know, Larry. He's also building a strong foundation for the future. He considers not just our current needs, but also what we'll need in a year, 5 years, and 10 years. This will ensure we never again rely on foreign countries for our economic survival or national security.
By the way, I remember one case, a truly remarkable story about Billy Clinton. You wrote about the people present at that meeting in your memoirs. Clinton was told that if we build a pipeline from Canada, our energy would be 40% cheaper than it is now. And when will that happen? Asked Clinton, who had about 3 years left in his second term. He was told, in 6 years at most. In 5 years then, said Bill, subtitles by Dima Torzak. That doesn't interest me at all right now. So don't bother me about it anymore, and don't mention this project to me again. Subtitles. Something that could help America. It never occurred to Bill, not even for a moment. It seems that most of our political leadership thinks exactly that way. Thank God we have a president who has a lot of children, grandchildren, and a future that isn't just an empty place or empty words. And America is important to him, not just his presidency. Trump just signed the budget for 2.5 months, something like that. This ends the shutdown. For now, they'll be negotiating some things there, but the shutdown is over.
Today we are making it clear we will never give in to blackmail, because that's exactly what this was. They tried to blackmail, the Democrats tried to blackmail our country. In a moment, I will sign the bill exactly the way we asked the Democrats to send it to us many days ago. This fate cost the country $1.5 trillion, this little excursion they took us on. The Republicans never wanted a shutdown and voted 15 times for a clean funding extension. There was never a time when one party or the other didn't sign an extension. It's just an extension, nothing special. It's an extension, and we'll talk later. Nevertheless, extremists in the other party insisted on creating the longest government shutdown in American history, and they did it purely for political reasons. I want to thank Speaker Mike Johnson, Senate Majority Leader John Thune, as well as House Majority Leader Steve Scalise, Chief Whip Tom Emmer, and many other outstanding leaders, Republican congressmen and senators here, and honestly spent a lot of time in Washington to make this happen. I also want to thank the broad coalition of Americans who supported us in this fight for getting things back to work. The government, including the Teamsters Union, the American Federation of Government Employees, the Order of Police, American Veterans, the National Small Business Association, the American Farm Bureau, the American Trucking Association, they're all incredible patriots. American Airlines, the Allied Pilots Association, the National Air Traffic Controllers Association, and many, many other unions and non-union organizations. Over the past 7 weeks, the shutdown caused by the Democrats has done tremendous damage. They caused the cancellation or delay of 20,000 flights. They departed so many times so late. People suffered greatly. No one has ever seen anything like this. It was obvious. It was an easy extension. They didn't want to do it the easy way. They had to make it complicated, and they looked very bad. The Democrats, they deprived more than 1 million government workers of their paychecks and stopped food stamp payments for millions and millions of those in need of Americans. They left tens of thousands of federal contractors and small businesses unpaid. And the overall effect of the damage caused by their antics will take weeks, maybe even months, to fully calculate, including the serious harm they've done to our economy, to people, and
families.
I want to remind the American people not to forget this when the midterm elections and other events come. Remember what they did to our country. And
Now let's reflect. Medications, especially prescription ones, are becoming available. Class. United States citizens now have the opportunity to choose the type of medical care, expensive insurance with all possible services, or a cheaper one for emergencies, and everything else goes to doctors and medications from their own tax-free account. And you decide yourself how to spend it. Spend it all, save it for another doctor, use it for a certain medication. It's your choice. You will be able to take out mortgages either for a very long term with small monthly payments, or for a shorter term and pay them off faster but with higher monthly payments. Again, and again, we're moving towards letting you choose for yourself. If you realize this isn't the best path, adjust your approach. And please, you can change from a 50-year-old to a 15-year-old if you have the money, and pay for it. You don't even need to change anything, you just need to add more payments and it will start paying off faster on its own. I won't bother you with details. You can pay the minimum or you can pay more than the minimum, and then you'll pay it off faster. A fund has been created to compensate victims not of COVID, but of the COVID vaccine, Can you imagine? 4 years ago, this conversation started, and Trump began to actively deal with the country's internal affairs, and this will be immediately noticed by the voters. As Steve Miller said, by the spring of 2026, the impact of the astronomical sums that our partner countries are investing in the United States economy will begin to be felt. The development of artificial intelligence, energy, instrument engineering, the development of our own rare earth metals, and rare earth metals from our neighbors and friends. The increase in oil exports from burned gas, trade agreements with Europe, Britain, Japan, and South Korea will bring lower prices and higher wages for workers. We said Steve. At the beginning of a huge, stunning, incredible economic boom, possibly the most powerful in the history of the United States of America. You know, of course, I'm not an economist and I'm not very good at making predictions, but I like it. Sometimes I dabble in it. But I have this feeling that we're just on the verge of some incredible leap into a completely different level of life. That's why it's so frustrating that there are so many bastards and scoundrels around who are trying to stop this for their own petty personal reasons. We all need to participate in this process together. No, they're trying to hold us back with all their might. That's it. I won't end on a negative note. Everything will be fine, and then we'll live a little longer and it will be just amazing.